Tid, thank you for joining with us. Shavua Tov. I should say good morning to you in Israel.
Thank you so much. Shavua Tov.
And thank you. So you've been on this program before. We've had you on originally from the United States, gave up United States citizenship, a member of Knesset, Yair Lapid. What do you say about all this controversy where people branding you, for example, you were by the Rosh Yeshiva, you're a Muslim from there, Yisrael, they branded you a Russia, then they took it back, but they're saying that you're off the path, you're not really Haredi. How do you respond to this?
So first of all, in terms of what happened with the Rosh Yeshiva, Baruch Hashem, that's behind us. We apologized for our misunderstanding, and that happens, and I'm certainly willing to move on, and I don't view it as a major controversy anymore. In general, I think it's very good that the conversation is taking place, that people are all over, as far as I understand it, addressing the issue of, why don't we have basic general studies in the yeshivos here, and it's something which ultimately will only help the B'nai Yeshiva and the Torah world in Israel. And I think it's a very positive step that the conversation is happening, and hopefully we'll be making these changes. And if along the way I have to be a little bit of on the receiving end of some negative things, that's okay. I think it's still L'Shem Shamayim, and it's still a good thing to be happening.
So let me ask you a question. Basically they're saying you're not Haredi, and some say better to daven with non-Jews than with you. You consider yourself a Haredi. You went to Ner Yisrael. You live a Haredi lifestyle, correct?
Yeah, I think that to start analyzing who's Haredi and who's not. As far as I know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who is bochen klayot v'lev, and it's not really for bus of a dumb to do that, and I don't judge other people. Other people shouldn't be judging me. Instead of focusing on whether I'm Haredi or not, let's focus on what the classic Torah sources say about Kol Torah she'eni mamalacha sofa b'tela v'gereres avon. Let's talk about what we sign on the Ksuva, in the Ksuva when we're kabbalah on ourselves to finance our families, and let's focus on the fact that people are starving and people are poor, and that the ultimate goal here is to help people out and not in any way to hurt them.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty issues. So would you like to see the Israeli government enforce math and science curriculum on the whole population, including the Haredi community?
The program that we're working on essentially says that in order to receive the amount of funding they've been receiving before, there has to be basic math and English in the curriculum, and science we're in discussions about, but there will be some science as well. Now keep in mind, and I've been actually tasked with this, we're talking about using books that are used in the yeshivas in America that great Rosh Yeshiva and Gedolim have in their own yeshivas, and translating those books to be used here. Some of them are already used here. We're not talking about some secular body coming in and deciding what's going to be learned. It's going to be in conjunction with the Vada Yeshivas and working together with them. But yes, I'm in favor of not fully funding because it doesn't make sense for a government to be putting money into a system where I'm talking about economics right now, where it's not going to be coming back.
So your position basically is, Rabbi Lipman, is that if the Haredi institutions are going to accept money from the state, then they're going to have this curriculum. If they don't want to do this curriculum, they shouldn't take the money from the state.
Exactly.
Okay, just want to be some. That's your position. I just wanted to clarify for the record.
But just to add one point, the budget that we just produced does still say that 30% of the funding will continue, even if they don't, because we do think that it's the wrong thing to suddenly cut them off completely, and there's costs that they have, building-wise, et cetera, which to put them in a situation where they have to start from zero, it would not be fair. So out of fairness, it still has the 30% in the budget.
Okay, so that's one issue, just a clarification. Now, the other hot-button issue of a woman of the wall, women who want to pray at the kotel wearing talis and tefillin. Every Rosh Chodesh we see this flares up as an issue. What is your position regarding that?
The first step is that we made a major mistake in starting to arrest people to begin with. What I mean by that is it used to be a small group that would come once a month and they would do it and they felt good about it. It didn't in any way interfere with anyone else, meaning it wasn't stopping me from going to the men's side and davening with Kavanah and focusing. I don't have to look at what's happening on the other side. And because it wasn't forcing anyone else in any negative way, we should have just let it be. It's not something which I view as the worst thing that can happen. And by arresting and by cracking down and making a battle out of it, now all of a sudden you have the whole secular world in Israel on board, a world that wasn't focusing on this issue, which wasn't making this an issue, and now we have a real battle on our hands. So the big mistake was choosing something which was not, from my perspective, worth making a fight about. It's something which in no way was forcing anyone to be over any halachos, and now we have a tough situation at hand where, again, I still believe the best thing to do would just be quiet, let it be, there's a compromise being worked out, and move on, and not stoke the flames, which we're doing on our side, the more we fight about it.
Now, what is the position? Because there was a newspaper interview where there was a talk about the status quo regarding drafting yeshiva boys to the Army. And so the question that I see over here that came in was that what is your position, according to what you told the Times of Israel, that you will stick even to the number of 400 annual Army exemptions for outstanding scholars? Is that the case?
Yeah, there are sound bites that come out once in a while which are taken not in context. I was talking about in that interview the importance of building a group of Gedolim, of people who are the really Luyim, and really taking care of them, and really making sure that we're building the Gedolim for the next generation, and recognizing that. And I said that, from my perspective, the criteria that we're looking for to build that group is going to be even smaller than the 400. I can imagine, finding the cream of the crop, the people who are really going to be the leaders, and giving them a chance to sit and learn and really produce. I was talking about a smaller number. The final numbers that we're talking about anyway are going to be 1,800 per year. I want to emphasize that, per year. There are 7,080 boys per year that come of draft age. First of all, every single one can learn 18, 19, and 20 without any draft issue whatsoever, because those years are critical towards building them in ruchnius and in their learning. At age 21, 1,800 per year will be exempt and be supported as they continue their learning. And the other ones don't have to go to a secular unit. They can go to a Haredi unit where they're investing in more Nachal Haredi and more Shachar Kachol, and units where they have minyanim and learning and bases that are meeting their spiritual needs. Those who won't serve in the Army, and we know there are those who won't, will do national service. And once they do that, they're free to go to work. And now I want to make one last point. The day the law is passed, which will be in a few weeks, hopefully, the day after that, for the next few years, any Haredi bacher or avrech who wants to go to work can do so immediately, meaning with no service whatsoever. It's basically an amnesty type of program for the next few years, basically saying those guys who are in yeshiva just to avoid the draft, go to work, go be with finance your families, and we'll be investing money in programs to help them learn a trade. We'll be working with companies to help them find jobs. And it's all about helping them in the finance
I understand that, the jobs that, the Army does help provide jobs, but how many Haredim should go into the Army? When? What is your position? What is the position of the party? So these are all issues that I think that need clarification.
Right. I mean, in terms of you need a breakdown between Army service and national service?
Right. In other words, first of all, who would go? Is it right away you're talking about? Is it 2 years down the road? Do that have to be 18? Is it 21, 22 when you're looking to draft the Haredim into the Army or do national service? What is the game plan? What exactly are you proposing?
So maybe I wasn't clear. I'll say it again. It's not at 18. They can learn in yeshiva for 18, 19, and 20. And then at age 21, that's when the plan kicks in. And then again, the ones who go to the Army can do so in units that are Haredi and have minyanim and have learning, have shiurim, and have bases that take into their needs. And those who don't do Army service will do national service, which also can be some kind of a combination type of program. But the most important thing is that when we pass this law, this doesn't start for a few years. It's very gradual in nature. And in the interim, in the meantime, any Haredi who wants to go to work, even though he's in draft age, right now it's not legal for him to go to work, he can go to work. And that, from our perspective, is critical because there are people who are in yeshiva or kollel just because they're avoiding the draft. Their families don't have money, and they don't really want to sit and learn day and night, and they can just go to work, which is a very important step for the Haredi community.
If you would like to call in to speak to Chaver Knesset, Rabbi Dov Lipman, call us at 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. You can email us, zev@talklinecommunications.com. You can text us through your cell phone to 21800 and just put in Zev with your question, and we will get you. 212-769-1925. Email questions wants to know is from what year to what year, where you're in Eretz Yisrael, and when did you get your smicha from there?
I was in Eretz Yisrael from 91 through 96, and I received my smicha from the yeshiva while I was learning in Cincinnati Kolo, so that was probably in about 97.
Now, did the whole controversy where you were called name calling and they said they wouldn't daven with you, they say you were worse than anybody else, did that affect you, your family? How did you deal with that? Because it's unpleasant, I'm sure, to deal with that situation.
Yeah, first of all, there was never a situation of not davening together. I davened in the Mincha and the Knesset and the Chavei Knesset from Degel HaTorah and Agudas Yisrael and Shas are there. There's a lot of things people read which are just not accurate. I talk with them, we see each other, especially the guys from Shas. There's significant conversation and communication. Sometimes when you're outside, you don't even realize. You don't even realize that Moshe Gafni from Degel HaTorah can get up to the Knesset bima and scream Chai V'Kayim, and then 5 minutes later, I see in the Knesset cafeteria for the members of Knesset, he's sitting with Yair Lapid and talking, and they're laughing. People don't see this, and that's unfortunate. People think,
so is it a performance? Are you saying that putting on a performance in the Knesset and behind the scenes it's a different ball game?
I'm saying that's 100% true. I'm saying it's 100% true. And there is communication, there is dialogue, there is discussion, and it's unfortunate. Chazal say, "Ein machlokas ben Shammai veHillel or beis Shammai beis Hillel." There's communication, there's discussions, there's dialogue, and there's some grandstanding that they have to do in order to show their voters and for political reasons. But there is a relationship, and there's never been an issue about davening. They've never called me names. We pass each other in the hallway. We say good morning. I've never faced those issues. There are questions that people ask sometimes, and my family, my wife might get a question here or there, but it has not been any way negative in the way it's portrayed. I think very much in the blog sphere.
Okay, we're going to get to your phone calls. I have to add to everybody that we have to all be respectful. We can have a dialogue, a discussion. If somebody gets out of hand, we will cut you off. You want to ask the tough questions? No problem. Respectfully. That's the key word for tonight. Let's go to Yitzchak, Yitz in Brooklyn. And Yitz in Brooklyn, and by the way, if our lines are busy, why don't you email us at zev@talklinecommunications.com. Yitz in Brooklyn, your question for Chaver Knesset, Rabbi Dov Lipman.
Hi, good Vach.
Good Vach.
First of all, it was a pleasure seeing you and your son at the Aguda dinner on Sunday night.
Oh, thank you. It was a wonderful dinner.
Yes, it was. Chaver Knesset Lipman, you say that you're a member of a Haredi community. Our Messiah is Emunas Chachamim, that we go after what the Gedolei Yisrael say. The Gedolei Yisrael seem to be very against everything that you stand for, unless there's a lot that I'm missing and everybody seems to be missing. What do you say to that?
First of all, a good question, and what I'm going to say right now, I mean respectfully, there is a lot that people are missing, and there is a lot behind the scenes, and I'll leave it at that. I'll just say that the number of Haredi young men who want to be upstanding B'nai Torah, and they want to be Talmidei Chachamim, and they want to feel Haredi, but also go to work, and they don't feel that. They feel that when they go to work, they view the second class, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to make that decision. They don't have the kalim, they don't have the basis to go to work. Adina Bar Shalom, Ravadia's daughter, came to the Knesset and told us that 50% of the boys who come to Haredi college drop out because they don't have basic math and English. Those are the things that we're asking for, and they're things which are very much in line with every Makor that I know. It's exactly the kind of Yiddishkeit that we had throughout all the generations. Even the Chazon Ish, when he wrote about a shift, he wrote about it being a shift, but we're going to focus on Torah only, said that for 2 generations after the Holocaust to get things started again, and Baruch Hashem, we've done that. So everything that we're doing is very consistent with who we've always been, and therefore, from my perspective, I don't see it as an aberration. I don't see it as something which is trouble. I think it's something which is just going to help a community which very much needs the help.
Okay, thank you for your...
The community may have some issues, but you didn't answer my question. The Gedolei Yisrael seem to be against you, yet you call yourself Haredi. So either you are, or you aren't.
Like I said, we have in the Koros. They're very clear, and from my perspective, it's enough to lean on to help people who are very much in need of help. And when I say that, I'm saying also it relates to the kids that are going off. There's a lot of issues which, taking this approach of just giving, we're not going to lose one gadol, not one, from my perspective, by having math or English. and we're losing kids in Shulm by the fact that we're not getting math and English. So that's the cheshbon.
Anyway, thank you for your...
I'm not debating. I'm not
No, you're speaking very respectfully. No, but
I'm not speaking disrespectful, Dev.
No, you're not. We have a lot of other calls, but you were speaking, by the way, I commend you because you're asking good questions, you're asking respectfully, and that's how the dialogue should be, so kudos to you. I'll let you ask another 30-second question. We have a blazing board, that's why.
Okay, so I'll let the next person. I made my point.
Good, thank you for that. And I'm going to get at least one email question. Kim writes, what does he think about the fact that Ner Yisrael is threatening to remove his smicha, your ordination?
That's also, like I said before, we live in a world of rumors. Ner Yisrael never threatened to take away my smicha. I'm in regular touch with people at the yeshiva, including the Rosh Yeshiva himself, and there was never a discussion of rescinding my smicha.
Okay, let's get some more phone calls coming in over here. Thank you for waiting. And you're on the air with Chaver Knesset, Rabbi Dov Lipman. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello, Rabbi Lipman. Good to talk.
Good.
I think what we have over here is a major publicity issue that people don't realize what you're trying to accomplish. What in Israel? Do you agree with that?
What do you mean? What do you think he's trying to accomplish?
I mean, people don't understand what Rabbi Lipman wants to accomplish. I mean, do you really want everybody in the army, all the Haredim in the army? I doubt it.
Well, do you want all the Haredim eventually in the army?
No. Like I said, 1,800 boys per year won't do any kind of service outside of learning. And I want to mention, by the way, it's a historic moment for the Torah world. This is going to be the first time in the history of the state that Torah learning is actually being viewed as doing service to Am Yisrael. It's going to be part of the program, is that we say we recognize that these boys sitting and learning, it's not that they're exempt. Their learning is significant enough that we view it as service. That's a very important point to make, which I didn't make before. Then we said the other boys will do either army service or national service, volunteering for Zaka or for Mada and things along those lines, which a lot of them do, by the way. This is also important to make. A lot of Haredim do wonderful things, and now it'll be recognized as their service to the country. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
My question is, why don't you have one school? Why do you have to do everything in one shot? If you want to have schools that teach math and English, get one school online to do it, and then others will follow.
So one of the things that we're doing, there are already Haredi schools that do have it, and they actually struggle very much. I won't go into all the politics behind it, but they actually have to fight much harder than any other Haredi school to get funding because of the people who are in charge of the funding, ironically. We're going to make sure that money flows to the Haredi yeshivas that do have math and English, give them the help that they need, and we do think that that'll strengthen that approach, and people will see that you can be Haredi, Dvar Hashem, you can be Talmidei Chachamim, and you can have the basic general studies. So that's a very good point.
Here in America, every single school, the most Haredi schools, soccer, they teach English and math to all their kids. They do have it. I mean, why would you have that problem in Israel?
No, I agree with you. Exactly what you're saying is the basis for what we're saying. We're saying that if you look at America, you see that even and by the way, all those yeshivas in America are producing Gedolei Torah, they're producing Talmidei Chachamim, and at least the boys have the basis for when they want to go to work. They have the basics that they need to have, which they don't have here. So that's what we're asking for. That's really the bottom line. What we're asking for is that.
Drop the whole draft issue. Why don't you just start with only implementing a little bit of English and math. And just drop the whole issue.
It's a good question. The draft issue comes from two places. One is there's two bad places. One is it creates a tremendous amount of polarization in the country when an entire group has said they don't have to, especially if you say they can go to work. It creates a situation which is untenable in a country to say that one whole group, because of their religious beliefs, are not going to be serving at all. And like I said, the program that we're making
Anyway, you raised some good points. You raised some good points. I thank you for it, but we're going to have to go. A lot of people waiting to call. We have a lot of emails we want to get to, so thank you for that again. Here's an email. I want to commend Rabbi Lipman for standing up for Haredim in Israel. Finally, Haredim can find the man of their own who can represent them in the Knesset. Time to get to work. MK Lipman is my idol for putting up. So thank you for that email. Here's another email question. We're going to get back to our busy phone lines at 212-769-1925. Craig writes, how do we adjust to a pluralistic culture when illiteracy exists in true Jewish culture for today's ramification of tomorrow's needs? In other words, how can we permit our children to be assimilated into maxims of extreme culture in today's Yiddish assignment?
But I broke up. Can you say the last part again?
So the last part, in other words, can we permit our children to be assimilated into maxims of extreme culture in today's Yiddish assignment?
I don't think we're asking for anybody to be assimilated. I think that if I could use a model for a moment, there is something called Hesder yeshivas in Israel, where you have boys who are religious Zionists in background who learn in yeshiva they're in a 5-year program, and they serve for a year and a half of that. I don't see them becoming assimilated. I see them very strong in learning. They produce also the Gdolei Torah, and they actually have tremendous influence on the other way, on the army. There was a time where there was more of an issue in the army of boys and their religious identity, but nowadays where you find religious mefakdim left and right in terms of the people who are running the army, and the army wants to go to such great lengths to accommodate the needs of the Haredim in the army. And I say this, the program that people should really look into, Shahar Kachol, which is an Air Force program, which is now at age 26, where they're trained in electronics or computer science or engineering, and they serve in the Air Force for 3 years, and you're thrown out of the program if you don't attend Shir. Try to meet the needs of the Haredi community. There's no situation right now of a fear of assimilation, and I think, like I said, the years of 18, 19, and 20 learning in yeshiva are critical. Those are years that the boys will have. They'll be built up strongly, and then they'll have their 2 years of service or so, and then they're free to do what they want to do.
Well, let's go to Beit Shemesh, and Zev in Beit Shemesh, thank you for calling on Talkline from listening on TalklineCommunications.com. Zev in Beit Shemesh, good morning to you in Beit Shemesh. Your question for MK Chaver, Rabbi Dov Lipman.
It was less of a question. I actually live across the street from Dov Lipman, and I want to personally say that I know him. He actually was a student of my father back in high school, and he's incredibly sincere. It amazes me that someone comes out trying to help the Haredi community, really from the bottom of his heart with honest intentions. And instead of saying, thank you for caring about us, for trying to help our education, they're slandering him. They're going after his integrity, things that are completely irrelevant. He honestly believes, and so do I. And in fact, I've even met with many Haredim who say, at the end of the day, our Gedolim might not agree, but we need to get educated. We can't continue, the way that it's going. It's not sustainable. And Dov is simply trying to do what's right. And, he's got broad shoulders. He's willing to accept the responsibility for that. But the slander is just unbelievable to me and unfair.
Rabbi Lipman, nice to communicate here in New York through a neighbor of yours in Beit Shemesh, but continue.
The truth is, I'm not sure who it is. I'm trying to figure out from the voice, but I will say that...
it's a Zev. Can I say your last name?
The words of...
Zev, can I say your last name?
The words of support.
It's Zev Hecht, Rabbi Lipman, who's responding to you.
The words of support have been continuous. My email box is filled, especially from Haredim, where people come and meet with me, and they say, "Keep going, we need this to happen." And it's clear from so many angles that it's the right thing, it's the best thing for the community, and there's no sinister intention. There's no there's an attempt to make people less religious. And I want to go one step further. It's not just me saying that. Unfortunately, people don't know Yair. People don't know Education Minister Shai Perron. They don't know the people in our party who I've had a chance to get to know. Of course, I would not have gotten involved to begin with if Yair was anti-Torah or anti-religious or anti-Haredi. And people make associations with his father, which is just unfair. And hopefully, over time, people will start to realize that the goal here is not that anybody should be less religious. The goal is that the community itself should be more sustainable and thrive and really contribute to the state of Israel.
Anyway, but Zev Hecht, that's who it is calling, by the way, Rabbi Lipman, your neighbor in Beit Shemesh.
Thank you.
Zev, thank you for calling in from Beit Shemesh. Thank you for listening.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Before I take our next call, Rabbi Lipman, I think part of the problem is, and you talk about Yair Lapid, he's made it a point of saying he will not sit in the Knesset with Haredi, obviously sitting with you and your Haredi, but he meant the Haredi parties. I think he set off a tone where anything that emanates from your party is considered treif because of the attitude and the tone that he portrayed from the get-go regarding the Haredim.
There's a very big difference between the Haredi political leadership and the Haredim. The average Haredi you meet in the street is a wonderful, sincere, value-centered, chesed-oriented Mamin who's trying to do the Ratzon Hashem every single day and has no intention of forcing his way on somebody else. Unfortunately, the Haredi political leadership has taken out a different flag. And they've taken out a flag of it's us against them. We're here just to care about ourselves. We're not interested in even helping boys who want to go to work. My goodness gracious, boys in your own community who want to go to work, and we're holding people in. And that is the leadership that we cannot sit together with, because there are things that need to be done for the country in general, which involve compromise, and they wouldn't do that. The night of the elections, Yair was prepared. We talked about it. He said as broad a coalition as possible. The next morning, the Haredi parties, and I emphasize the Haredi parties, not the Haredim, the Haredi parties, leaders, the political leaders, said we're status quo, nothing's going to change. How can you say status quo, nothing's going to change? There's a difference when there's 400 young men being supported or 60,000, and there are people who need money, and there are people who are starving, and there are people who are struggling, and their boys are going off the derech. And you can't say status quo. We always have to adapt. You know, going back to the beginning of the 20th century, there was an adaptation that was made for girls to start having education, because otherwise they were going to go off. Of course we adapt. You never say status quo, and that was chaval.
Our guest is Rabbi Dov Lipman from Israel. He's a member of Knesset. Yes, go ahead.
It's good in this country.
I'd like to take a few, Rabbi Lipman, what about conservative and reform rabbis? How should the state deal with them? Should they be recognized by the state? That's part of the fight with Women of the Wall as well.
Yeah, it's obviously a very complicated issue. I mean, at a certain level, you'd rather have religion and politics removed completely, and that way, you don't have to deal with this issue. But at the moment, what we're saying is that we can't have a situation where a government is giving money just towards one group and not towards other groups. And obviously, it'd be based on requests and based on, where there are requests for programs. But that's essentially the approach that we're taking. I want to say something else. During the campaign, I heard this a lot from secular Israelis, young secular Israelis. People have to understand they do not have an agenda of anti-Torah. It's not the beginning of the state anymore, where there was a battle over will there be Torah or mitzvahs in this country. And they said, I hate Judaism. This is the quote, I hate Judaism, and I hate that I hate Judaism. Meaning, we on the religious side have done, using the government, have forced a lot of things on people. And I'm not saying we should be breaking halacha. I'm not saying we have to be smart and be cautious and figure out where can we be lenient, where can we not be lenient, where can we give a little space, where can we not. And I think the moment we do that, we'll start seeing en masse, we'll start seeing people embracing being proud Jews in the state of Israel, and that's a critical thing.
Should we get rid of those? Should we get rid of the chief rabbinate, because they're the one that's accused of turning people off by some of their practices?
If it was up to me, this is not my party state, if it was up to me, I do think there's a place to say there's no need for that. Let it be the way I had it growing up, which is, that everybody does their thing, and hopefully Torah can flourish, and we can show people the beauty of our ways. And that's the bottom line, by the way. I just want to end with this point. My dream is that the high-tech corridor of Ra'anana should be filled with Haredim, and the law firms in Tel Aviv, and the government offices in Yerushalayim. The point is that the secular community does not know who Haredim are, and they just have a negative perspective, because all they see are either the extremists who do crazy things or the political leaders who say crazy things, and instead they don't see that there's regular value-centered people who are shomer Torah mitzvahs day in and day out, the same way my father, Zechor Levracha, and everybody else that we know who were upstanding, Torah-observant people who were in a career and they had influence on the world around them. We could be having, in the most positive of ways, a tremendous influence on the state of Israel by just being there, by breaking down the walls and being out there as part of the country and saying, it's not us against them. It's not a war. We're one nation. We're one.
But in lieu of that,
every single source that I know, source that I know says that Geula comes when we have achdus, and no one's asking us to stop keeping Torah mitzvahs. Let's not force our way on them.
And we need that. But here's a lot what you said. This is the final question. Email. While Rabbi Lipman comes across extremely sincere and well collected, isn't he concerned that he's being used to set up an agenda that seemingly is a systematic catastrophe that is much broader and designed to depress the frum community? I guess they meant to say oppress the frum, not depress, but okay, that's what it said.
If every single person that thought that way had a half hour to sit down with Yair Lapid and talk to him one-on-one about the serious issues like I have, they'd have a different perspective. That's all I can say. They see that no one's being used, it's sincere, it's real, and I think that only good things will come of the breaking down the barriers and working together, strengthening Torah on the one hand, and reaching out and being part of Am Yisrael on the other.
I want to thank you, Rabbi Dov Lipman. He's literally going through the doors of the Knesset as we're speaking. Thank you for being